And we're live.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Welcome, everyone, back to the HVAC 2.0 show. Join with us. We got T up on top, and we got Ken down at the bottom. And I believe today we're going to be talking about just kind of going over the free quote report, some revisions, and kind of just talk about the structure of it, of what we are going to change it to be, try to make it better, do what we're actually intending it on doing. I feel like we're getting closer of dialing in exactly what the process is meant to do and what we're trying to do with the outcome. And so now we need the report to reflect that. Does that seem fair?
Good for me.
All right. Well, I guess we can hop right into it. I've got a demo report that I'm going to screen share.
I'm getting some kind of feedback. Is nobody else getting that?
Sounds clear for me.
Sounds good to me. What kind of feedback is it? Well,
It's like a 5-second loop.
Is it? Do you have it playing somewhere in the background?
Running? Somebody got YouTube running?
No.
Do you have YouTube running?
No.
I think I had it running. Must have been me.
Yeah, because it's probably playback on your end. If we're not hearing it, but you probably have it playing in the background.
I got it. Thank you. All these windows I have going.
Yeah.
So before we go into the free quote report, should we go through the free quote visit order of operations and then also go through the interview process that I've created, I've gone through and edited? Or should we start with the report? Let's start with the report because it's quick and easy.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So zoom in further. So it's half a page so people can see that. So I still can't see it. There you go. I can see it better now. How about you, Ken? Is that big enough for you?
Yes.
Okay.
So how do we feel about, I guess if we're going to kind of re-go through everything, I mean, might as well question everything at this point. So how are we feeling about reiterating the comfort scores first?
So my feeling on the comfort scores is that they need to change.
How
as
so?
far as the recommendations, because it's pretty clear that Comfort Consult, our newest version of free quote, is working really well for the guys that are using it a lot. And so they're converting a lot fewer to Comfort Consults.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if the homeowner is in a hurry, they're deconverting from Comfort Consult to what they're calling sort of an enhanced free quote. So it's enhanced in that it gets a blower door so that the homeowner still gets an understanding of whether their house is a basket case or not. But then what they're doing is they're running them through likely load range for sizing, and basically putting them on the hook for sizing and all the rest of the things, giving them also doing static pressure so they do know about the duct situation. So they're getting blower door number, an understanding of where that lines up in layer, and then static pressure, and tying that back to what Jason Cecil was doing before he met us, where he was sizing to the ductwork. That static pressure is sort of putting the homeowner in the position of wanting to lean towards the green in order to have the lowest risk of having static issues.
And what is the criteria for a blower door? Are there questions that
So with this comfort quiz, I
Mhm.
think it's comfort consult is recommended at 18.
Okay.
Pain score of 18. Like this one would be a blower right here where it says your score with a total score of 24. A comfort consult is recommended.
Yes.
I'm at the point where it really feels to me like the narrative on that might shift to with a comfort score of 24. The likelihood that you may not get all of your comfort issues addressed by choosing the right HVAC equipment is middling to high. So you may be calling us back, asking us to do a comfort consult after your equipment replacement. Because really what Free Quote has done is it's moved the blower door and the comfort consult in most cases to after equipment replacement. And that's, going back to what we were talking about. It really seems like what we're doing is only recommending the diagnostic testing that is really required at the step that you're at, instead of sort of recommending diagnostic testing for everybody.
Yes.
Sure.
And I'm definitely starting to lean into the comfort consult, like the score, or not the comfort consult, but the comfort score of the recommendations coming from that being not so much saying comfort consult or free quote. It seems to be now it really should be free quote regardless. It's just after you do the free quote, the question is, do you end the free quote and then go to the comfort consult before the equipment because you're looking for that extra precision, or do you install the equipment and then do the comfort consult afterwards to see if we need to bring the house to meet the system? So it's like reframing the score of it being, instead of the score being a guidance for you're about to come up to a fork and you got to decide which way you're going to go, and the scores to help you choose that, to just kind of be predictive with, this is the likelihood of the comfort consult being needed. And if the comfort consult, if it's something that may be needed in the future, it's like, well, we can do it now if you would like, or we can wait and see if this solves the problem. And if it doesn't, well, then we know the next step is going to be the comfort consult.
And maybe there are going to be some situations where the comfort consult makes itself apparent at the free quote. Like if somebody's in between two sizes, for example.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, to do retrofit that's going to tighten up the house is going to be a significant amount of effort. And to increase the size of the ductwork for a little bit bigger equipment is not.
Yes.
So there may be situations where going small, leaning towards the green hard in the likely load range is putting them at greater risk than doing, like, the whole idea of moving the blower door back is to not be wasteful of people's time and resources, homeowners
Yes.
and contractors. And there are going to be situations where you discover through the free quote interview and through building out their ideal equipment specification that there's still some risk that's not mitigated that would be by the comfort consult, and therefore it's justified to do it in advance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did I explain that in a way that anybody else is going to be able to understand besides the three of us?
That's the hard part. And with me here working on my website here lately, that's the hard part is going, okay, I can explain it to where other people who also understand it can get it, but do normal people get it? And that's the hard part to try to tell.
Right.
Yeah, we have to keep it in the simplest of terms for homeowners and specifically non-technical terms.
Yeah. Well, it's not even as much the technical terms, but it's let's see how to it's like remembering that there is a lack of contextual information around the whole thing, to where you have to describe it in a way as if that contextual evidence or information doesn't exist. Because and I've kind of noticed this, like when I've been trying to just describe the free quote process to people who aren't, in our group or aren't a contractor, to where they can understand it. It's like you kind of describe it because already kind of have this notion of there's some things already understood, and things that to me doesn't seem like it's a confusing thing is confusing to other people. And so then it's like trying to convey that in a simple method that isn't just a long explanation is it's not easy.
The longer the explanation, the more likely their eyes are to glaze over.
Glaze over,
Yes.
Roll back in their heads.
So Jason Trammell asked a good question. Is this enhanced free quote for a fee, or at least refundable fee if they go with you? So I think the people that are going to do an enhanced free quote are people who somebody else has sold the comfort consult, which is likely to happen in companies that have technicians selling comfort consults. And so the technician is going to go out trying to, on a service call, trying to help a homeowner with a problem. And then they run into a situation where they can't help the homeowner, but they think that, Ronnie or Austin can solve that problem. And so in order to get Ronnie or Austin to go, the way that they get deployed is by selling a comfort consult.
Okay.
And Ronnie or Austin get out there and they realize that it's highly likely that helping this homeowner select the right piece of equipment is going to solve the problem. And because they have lots of experience with this, they're able to say, yeah, I'm here to do this comfort consult, but you're not going to be making a decision on a comfort consult for a couple of weeks because I'm not going to get the report back to you for at least a week. And if you're hoping to make a decision quicker than that, our path is through the free quote. And what we could do is get you most of the way to the comfort consult through the free quote, plus the blower door testing and static pressure testing and zonal testing, because that'll help us understand a little bit about the deficiencies of where the house is, but you're just not going to be getting, manual J and reconciliation to your energy use and all of these other things that are part of the comfort consult. So you're not going to get me helping you with sizing beyond the help that I provide via likely load range.
Yes.
Yeah. The amount of the fees, the extent of the fees will depend on the extent of the enhancement for the free quote.
So the fees are going to remain.
Yeah.
But if you decide to purchase equipment from us, we will credit you the fee. And this way, the tech who has properly sold a comfort consult to that homeowner doesn't get punished by having his comfort consult commission pulled away. Yeah. And I think that that's the way to approach it that has the most integrity, because it treats everybody involved fairly. Treats the homeowner fairly, because if they go ahead and make a decision, they're going to get that money credited back on the equipment, but that's not going to impact the technician's sale. And if you don't penalize the technician for making that sale, he'll continue to make those sales. And clearly the result, even if it's going through the free quote process, is going to benefit the homeowner, because they're going to get all the education steps of understanding things like the comfort quiz, and scroll down some here, Tanner. Likely load range, which this is showing. And then the duct pressure information. And then also helping them with their installation choices, which the smiley faces install choices provides. And then at the bottom, the equipment choices, so that they can get educated on how the different pieces of equipment are going to impact. So hopefully that, I mean, that's a great question that Jason asked, and hopefully that's a good answer. I guess it is, because he says it makes sense. And yeah, so this is, I think the free quote process does help with that quite a bit, because, you know, you're going over this, which is the comfort quiz, to getting them thinking about how their home performs, which a lot of people, you know, they have problems with their homes and they just bury it because it's frustrating, and they don't want to rub their nose in their frustrations all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we scroll down a little, helping them understand their heating system size and what sizing, how sizing it impacts that, is going to be important. And in between heating system likely load range, we're going to insert the 6 functions, because you're going to connect the 6 functions of HVAC to their comfort score. So in areas where they expressed discomfort, you can talk to them about the 6 functions of HVAC and how some of those functions may help address the frustrations that they're having trying to control their home. And then the next step is going to be the importance of sizing is going to tie to the 6 functions. There's a lot of the 6 functions require, you know, load matching, and continuous mixing, for example. And you can't get those things if you grossly oversize, because you're going to get short cycling. So we're going to have the 6 functions above this part, and then below this will still be the static pressure, which scroll down a little bit. So the duct pressure conversation will occur at the end. And so the report is almost in the right order, except it doesn't include better description of what happened at the visit, including links to the videos, because we need people. I think what happens is people get overwhelmed by the free quote. They're incredibly grateful at the moment, but then you leave and there was so much information disseminated there and nothing for them to refer back to, that they end up being confused, you know, by the next day as to what happened. So they need something tangible, and this report isn't enough. And so we need the report to be more like the Comfort Consult report, in that it needs to be more educational, as well as this is what happened at our visit.
Yeah. Well, it also, I think, needs kind of more information about how to, in terms of like, okay, you can use this report to compare bids. So it's like, how do you do that? How do they, like, what to look at stuff?
Right. So below
And
thank you for bringing that up. If you scroll down to the install choices, this is helping people understand whether they need modification of their filter drop and that sort of thing, the return drop. And then below that is the equipment. Do you want single stage, two stage, multi-stage, or modulating? So scroll down again. And so they're looking, this is helping them with those choices. And then below this will be their ideal equipment specification.
yeah.
Which is this part is the exercise that helps them arrive at their ideal specification. And then that ideal specification ends up being the tool for them to get, if they want to get apples to apples bids, here's that tool at the very bottom.
Yeah. Well, but I also still think there kind of needs to, we need to have like a pre-written blurb to where they can read it and be like, okay, here's, if you call somebody else out, and let's say you have your ideal specification, and because good and well, a homeowner goes, hey, contractor, here's what I want quoted for me. You're going to have some of them that's like, how about this? And then they give them a quote. So that way it can be like, okay, if you're doing that, look at the size, see where it lays on the likely load range. So now you have an idea of comfort.
So this is one of the things, and Ronnie's been experimenting with this for me, that I think needs to happen is free quote brings back into play a thing that we avoided with Comfort Consult, which is yes, no, no, maybes.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, no, no, maybes basically is the idea around when you're ready to make a decision, that's when I'm going to give you your proposal.
So you think instead of them being able to look at the other quotes and decide it, that you just wait until you're giving them your quote to be able to kind of have that discussion with them and compare it with them?
I'm going to help you build your ideal replacement specification. Some things may change between now and the time that you're ready to make this decision, because you're going to be talking to other people, and you may decide to modify your ideal equipment specification. The other thing that'll happen is some people may be unable or unwilling to bid to this specification. And you may not be, you're not really qualified to understand some of the ins and outs of this equipment. So they may tell you it's an apples to apples bid when it's not. Now, I don't mind losing this job to somebody who bids apples to apples and you've decided to give them the business, but I do mind losing this job to somebody who does something underhanded. So I'm going to help you build your ideal specification today. And in reciprocity for that, I would like the opportunity of last bid. And so Ronnie used that on somebody, and I think he worded it differently, but the guy's like, well, that's fair. That's totally fair. Because, and in his situation, he walked in, the guy said, I'm not making a decision today. And Ronnie says, that's fine with me. I'm just here to help you build a specification today anyway. Just do me a favor. When you are ready to make that final decision, let me be the one that bids last. So I can look at the other bids and make sure that they are bidding to your specification. Also, that way, if I don't win the job, I get to learn a thing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Being able to kind of be the piece of, what I get to take away is that I get to learn.
If I don't get the job, I don't mind so much, so long as I know why.
Yeah.
So the guy ended up buying right then and there because the free quote process made him so comfortable. He's like, yeah, you know, I don't know why anybody else didn't tell me any of this stuff, but you've made me very comfortable with this decision. And now I'm uncomfortable using any of the other people. So we may as well just go ahead.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's a lot missing from this report because you would have to create an essay, cover letter to go with this. And I sort of feel like what we have in mind, and I've shared links to it to folks they can get it on YouTube and probably Facebook and LinkedIn. Let's see if I can. So I think this is it. And it, can you see this? Is this too small? Okay.
So make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Control plus.
There we go. That's good.
Better.
Okay. So most people don't really know what they want. They sold them by HVAC and they really appreciate our helping them build the specification. It's a 15 to 20 year decision. And you probably don't want me picking for you. You probably want to be involved in that decision. So trying to help you figure out what you need. So let's have a little conversation. And that's what this process is about. And I have a whole bunch of different ways that you can sort of talk to people through this. Like there are 3 ways we can do this. Free quote, help you develop your ideal specification, bid to a specification you already have, or attempt to bid like for like. Although your 20-year-old R12 or R22 system is not going to be the same as the new fragile equipment with very temperamental refrigerants. And then here are some of the questions that I think need to be added to the free quote questionnaire. This is me cutting and pasting the Testy McTest face questionnaire with the hints being shown, hints on. And in the red is where I made changes. And I don't think I need to go over them because I think the process is already so good that the only people that are going to have opinions of the red are going to be you guys that are using it on a daily basis. So I've put it in there like for the Reedie, Ronnie, and I mean, there are a bunch of other guys that are using it, but these are the ones that I talk to on a regular basis. So they're going to have to go through this. But I wanted people to be aware that I've created this thing. It's called Free Quote Interview, shared for comments, 7/15/24. These are the questions that you ask at a free quote. And this is where I'm changing so that likely load range comes in front of duct pressure. And duct pressure needs to go to the bottom. I don't think you have to punch them in the nose with duct pressure if you do likely load range well and you do the 6 functions well. Because now what you're doing is you're really focusing on them. And the experience that the consumers are having is one of, wow, you really helped. And so the duct pressure doesn't have to be a big scare tactic. It has to be more of a responsibly avoiding responsibility tactic and documentation.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the measurements, as we see in the report, has already been reversed to where the install gets discussed before the equipment. The only thing I think that needs to be modified for that is a little discussion about, because sometimes people want better equipment and then they realize that they want a better install and that blows their budget for the better equipment. There are places like Fresh Air, which seems to be getting sold a lot. People are buying Fresh Air left and right. That could potentially be a thing that, like for Reedie, it means dropping from a 5-stage to a crossover. And for Ronnie, that might mean going from 5-stage to 2-stage. And I'm thinking that, you know, in some cases, they're going to be getting a lot better air quality and they're going to get continuous circulation. Maybe they don't need to dive right into the Fresh Air and then be stuck with crappier equipment for the next 15 to 20 years. Maybe they could go with a better equipment and have Fresh Air be something they install next year, because they've been living this long without it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the, like, you might, there are a couple of situations where you might want to have that conversation with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the other thing I wanted to share, stop sharing this. And then I wanted to, so the free quote steps, where am I? Let me present that. Share screen. So this is the new order summary. Follow the free quote script. 4 questions quiz up all the way up to the duct pressure. Skip the duct pressure step. Hopefully, people watching this 6 or 8 months from now won't this will be out of date. But right now, you got to skip the duct pressure step and go to the 4-minute 6 functions of HVAC video. And then discuss the 6 functions of HVAC and tie the 6 functions to the problems uncovered in the quiz and the other questions. And then next, calculate and enter the likely load range, which actually, I think I'll go to that, because what I've done is a newer likely load range spreadsheet that shows people the range of the green, which I think is going to be helpful, because right now it just sort of gives you a general idea of what the green is and the yellow and the red, instead of giving you the actual calculation. And what I mean by that is, if the likely load range is from 20 to 60,000 BTU, green is probably 20 to 35. And then yellow is 35 to 45, say. And then red is 45 to 60. And the newer spreadsheet tells you what those boundaries are, so that you don't have to sort of guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'll remind me to show you what that looks like so that people can see it. So then you do the likely load range and tie that to the 6 functions, because a lot of the 6 functions clearly can't be met with, well, it's really hard to meet a bunch of them with single stage. And it may be hard to meet them even with 2-stage unless you're very aggressive sizing into the green, because two-stage is only going to really help you with that range if it's cycling between the stages. And if your lowest stage is provides too much output for your meat of the season load, the equipment is still going to cycle off. And if it cycles off because by short cycling still, then you still got short cycling problems. And that, again, is probably something that only a couple of us understand what I just said. Do either of you think that needs better explanation?
As you were going through that, Ted, I summarized it in this way without each individual step. First, with the 6 functions of HVAC, we're helping them decide, educating them so they can decide what kind of equipment they want. Then when we go to likely load and duct pressure, we're helping them narrow that down to what size they might need. Those are the most empirical parts of that description.
I really like how he did that, Tanner. How do you feel?
I like that.
Do you think it needs any more?
We're assuming, of course, that we're getting honest answers to problems that they need to address, because that will affect some of those things too.
Yeah, I've been talking.
Yeah.
So there's a new guy, Will, that Tanner and I have been talking to, trying to help get up to speed on this. He's our latest guinea pig. And if he's able to do this, he'll prove that you can bring somebody
brand new,
because he doesn't have any HVAC chops, into HVAC using this process. And he's helping us a lot understand how to sort of fill in the gaps.
Maybe this just needs, instead of all of these, what have we got? All the A through M. We may want to do it in more of an outline form, so we have type of equipment, and then an indentation with some parts that will lead to that. And then we go to likely load range and static pressure. Those might be, when you're making an outline, typically they say 3 main points, A, B, and C. And then underneath you'll have your indentations, and you may even have
I like that.
below that.
So this is sort of an outline more for Eric in reorganizing the software.
Yeah.
But there is the potential of having this be kind of an outline for someone like Will. And so it would look different.
The nice thing about an outline is that the further you go with the indentations, the less critical those things are.
Yes.
And that will help them see, all right, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Yes, you can ask a question, but this is not something that is essential to the decisions that you need to make.
Right.
It's not something we necessarily need to
try
to rearrange now, but I think that would help, because that way when you look at A, B, and C,
so it'd be more like this.
You get your yes, that sort of thing. And then there might even be further indentations below that, which would be count how many registers there are in the house. That's something that some guys like to do. And that's what Jason was doing, because he wanted to size to the duct system. But if that's way down in the indentations, that's not one of the big things that you want the customer to understand. as they are evaluating their HVAC system options.
Jason's liking what you're doing.
Thank you, Jason. When doing whether it's a comfort consult or anything else, when you have all of those things in the same list, same row, you feel like, oh, if I don't finish this one, I can't move on to the next one. And that makes the whole process rather lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
So some decisions will have to be made as far as what's a sub point, what's an indentation below that. And if it's flexible and the individual can change it for what their style is, that's all the better.
So I'm calling, this is the last thing that I did promise to share. Percent share screen. Is it this one? I don't think it is. Let me see. Oh, it's not that one. It's this one. Let me see if I can get it. So what I've done here with a likely load range is, and all you have to do is put in, your heating design temperature, your cooling design temperature, and your square footage. And then you go to either 1 story or 2 story. And then if it's 1 story with a basement, you go here. Or if it's 2 story with a crawl space, you go here. And then you go across and you're looking at this 1,300 square foot. Your likely load range for heating is in the green between 13 and 23,000 BTU. And then yellow is going to be 23 to 46.
Yeah.
And then red is going to be 46 to 56. That way, I think you can more easily explain the likely load range, green, yellow, red, that Tanner was showing. Because now you can say to the homeowner, look, it needs to be, equipment needs to be in this range here.
Yeah.
So this could be 1.5 to 2 ton. If it's 2 stage, you're going to go 2 ton. If it's 5 stage, you might ought to want to go to 2 ton. If you got enough ductwork, maybe you go to 3 ton with a 5 stage, because that'll ramp all the way down to 7,500. So you're likely to be going right into their meat of the load season and avoiding short cycling on mild days. And then same for the cooling. So if you're going to go 2 stage, well, it'd be good if you were able to cover the bottom side of likely load range, or you start to risk short cycling during milder days.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that this is a more helpful version of likely load range. Eric, is talking about having this automated eventually within the software so that people then don't have to go to the spreadsheet. But in the meantime, likely load ranges work in a treat. I mean, people are. Tanner, have you had experience with it?
Of using the spreadsheet of likely load range?
Yes. Or are you still using Cool Calc or something else?
I've not used it a ton.
Okay.
A lot of the ones I've been doing so far, I've been just using a quick model anyways.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how that's played out.
Yeah. So I wish Reedie was here because he's required to do load calcs, but I'm wondering if he's doing them after and using this because it saves time. I think, and I don't know, this is the problem of being removed from the sales process that people are using.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that this is a potential improvement, because as I was going through it, I'm like, well, if I'm the homeowner, I want to know this right here. I want to know that it's 15 to 23.
Homeowners are always very interested in what size should I go bigger?
Right.
And this will help them to appreciate there are risks associated with that.
Well, and as you're talking to them about, so Tanner, will you put the report back up?
Yes.
And take the likely load range.
All right.
When you're talking to them about likely load range, particularly if we're going to be following likely load range with static pressure and then the equipment choices and then their ideal equipment specification, I think we're going to want to have a little bit more clarity on what likely load range was instead of the vague, because this is vague.
Yeah.
Like there's the green, and I see that the green is between, well, it's 18 and something. And it's a third of the 18 to 42. But now I got to do math to figure out it's 18. So, I mean, I guess it's 2 ton.
The spreadsheet is the specifics. This is the summary of the spreadsheet.
Right, right. And
if they're shown the spreadsheet, they say, oh, okay. Then we say, fine, here is our likely load range in the report. So you don't have to look at the spreadsheet the whole time. None of us are excited about spreadsheets.
Right. Right. So it probably has to be size picked. Current size and then size picked.
Yeah.
Would be simple enough. Size you picked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good.
Yeah. Okay. And that would explicitly handle RAR. Well, good. That's really helpful. Anyway, that was a lot.
That was.
Thank you guys for helping me go through that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Which I guess just because some of this has been on the top of my mind in regards to this, of kind of how it's starting to go the route of everything begins with a free quote and then it either turns into a comfort consult on the few times that it is needed, and doing it after the fact and stuff. One thing that seems to be a little bit more difficult with that is explaining that. And either explaining that to a homeowner or putting it in words to where when somebody reads the thing, it gets understood well. And the hard part is being in the middle of it. It's easy to write something that to me makes a lot of sense, but maybe to others that it doesn't. And so, at least before with the free quote versus comfort consult, when it was a fork, it was very simple. Okay, we have two options you can go with. You can go with this path or you can go with this path. Here's the differences. What would you like to do? And then we use the 4 questions to discern that. But now kind of going this, well, using the free quote process will build your ideal specification. And then if we go with that and things we don't solve all the things you were hoping for, well, then we'll do the comfort consult. But you could do the comfort consult before you do the equipment replacement if you want to, but you don't have to. So it's like, you see how it's easy to get kind of confusing.
I think you go straight to the money. You want to spend $500 on a comfort consult, or would you like a free quote?
Yeah. Well, but how do you do that in short words? In a way, if somebody's just if I'm thinking in terms of somebody you're not in front of them, they're just they're deciding on who they're going to call out for a quote or whatever may be going on. How does that get relayed? Do you just go, hey, we have a free quote process, here's where we start, and then don't mention the comfort consult yet? Or do you go, we've got a few options. We have our free quote process and we have a comfort consult, but we suggest everyone start with the free quote to decide if you even need the comfort consult. Like how do you think that would be a simple way of conveying that?
Do you have any problems with the way your house performs that drive you batshit crazy?
Yeah. Is there anything you want this new equipment to do that your current equipment does not? Those are your...
Right. We got to go back to the 1 question before leading into the 4 questions. And then when you get done with the 4 questions, you say, so your score here is 24. And it does suggest that a comfort consult is recommended. But one of the things that we found after using this process for a while is that 99 out of 100 homes don't need a comfort consult. Free quote should help the homeowner understand whether or not they're the 1 out of 100 or a not. So don't feel any pressure to hire me for a $500 comfort consult. I'm happy to come out and do a free quote first, and we can, through our conversation, determine whether or not you're that 1 out of 100.
Yeah. How uncomfortable are you?
There's a really good chance that what we're seeing is better decisions around equipment, properly sized, matching your ductwork, is making people feel like their home's completely been changed. They couldn't believe it could be as comfortable as it is.
Yeah.
And once in a while, you get a house that's leaky as a corn crib, and it doesn't matter how good the equipment is because it's just too connected to outdoors. And so you're going to have to do something to tighten that house up.
But we don't know.
We don't know that, and we can replace the equipment. And if we make good decisions around the equipment, if it turns out your house is one of those, you're not going to have to replace the equipment a second time because you made a good equipment decision.
Yep.
And if you're the 1 of 100 homes that equipment decision might be a toss-up between 2 different sizes, we should be able to unpack that at the free quote. And by the way, 99 out of 1,000 homes don't need a comprehensive planning process. And a comfort consult will help the homeowner understand if they're the 1 in 1,000. So this is the other part of it is, having narrative around, oh my gosh, this is a problem home and it's going to need more than a comfort consult provides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you got cancer riddled throughout your body, and we're going to have to put together a report on how to address each area.
One of the other things that happens is a lot of people think, oh yeah, I've got a really nicely built house. I've got a good tight house.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that.
Yes.
Until they're shown otherwise. So
right.
we have some questions that can help us to peel back some layers. I hate to get into the cliches, but with the help of a few questions, we can determine whether you need more investigation or we should just go ahead with new equipment.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And we want to have the conversation that there is no such thing as like for, because that equipment that you got is 20 years old, uses completely different refrigerant, has completely different electronics in it.
Yeah.
It was built a lot more robust because the efficiency standards didn't cause a war on things that work on the equipment. Giving it a very fragile and narrow band of ideal operating behavior. So,
yeah, in a sense, much of our equipment today is high performance compared to the old stuff from years ago. Let me think. What automobile? If we could use an automobile comparison. Something that was built like a tank.
Yeah. Model T.
Model T. Well, that may have been a little bit too experimental, but
you see all these videos of them driving through ruts and.
Yes. Well, what about the like the gangster cars from the 30s? An old Plymouth with a heavy steel body.
And those crazy engine blocks that you couldn't break with a Tommy gun.
Right. That kind of thing compared to the modern automobiles that may be higher performance, but they're a lot more finicky. You got to have a computer to work on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can probably make something out of that analogy.
Jason says 59 El Camino. I guess I understand what kind of cars he likes.
Ooh.
Is there really a 59 El Camino? I thought that was a 60s car.
I don't know. Jason doesn't strike me as being old enough to know about a 59 El Camino. Unless that was his babe magnet.
I think he's a couple years younger than me.
I didn't even know about 59 El Caminos. Thunderbird, that was the car that was the apple of my eye back then.
That was the year they introduced it, he says. 59.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Interesting.
Yep.
That was a modern looking car at that time, I'd say.
Car / pickup truck.
Right.
Best of both worlds.
Yes.
They were neat.
Uh-huh.
The 59 El Camino of today is a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, okay. He must be Googling things.
yeah. Ken, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Music.
Oh,
I had 2-3 gig weeks.
Oh,
A lot of fun, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then our granddaughter, who is 21, is going to be making a trip to Spain. And then when she comes back, she's relocating down to the Florida Keys for 6 months.
Oh,
so
neat.
We had a big family get together yesterday.
Good for her.
Yeah. HVAC wise, as the retired guy, I'm doing as little as possible. I'm trying to keep up with it, so when I'll still know what's going on when the new refrigerants are introduced.
Okay. Tanner, people are asking if they should wait for the new equipment or hurry up and get. Oh, my sister asked me that. Her equipment's still running, but it's like 25 years old. And she's like, oh, so they're changing this year. And I think she's going to get carrier equipment. So should she wait for the new stuff next year? Because it sounds like that's going to be pretty cool. Or would she be better off getting like a 5-stage this year?
Well, that.
Let me put my 2 cents in, Tanner, and then you can go with the specifics.
Okay, go ahead.
If she wants to wait for the new equipment, that's fine if she likes being a beta tester.
Oh.
Otherwise, get what they have now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, when the new equipment comes out, don't rush. If you're going to wait, don't rush.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was going to say, because the one difference is going to be, I know they're doing away with a 5-stage and they're coming back with something different. It's going to be a better heating performance version, but I don't know anything about it. I know I just heard, was it Ronnie talking about that?
Ronnie was talking about it. I think
and
Jeff had done a presentation to those guys.
Yeah. So with that, it's, I mean, it's a toss up. Who knows? Like, you could get the 5-stage and then this other unit could come out and it'd be like, oh, wow, it has no problems and it has way better heating performance and it's amazing. That's a possibility. But you could also wait and get this new equipment and then you realize, oh, it has all kinds of problems and it becomes it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
As far as I know, a lot of people's kind of on the like old refrigerant versus new refrigerant worry and stuff. And I mean, I don't know if it's really that much to worry about. Like, yeah, Jason's talking about it here. But
I'm not sure I'd go that far, but
yeah.
But
like, I mean, 410A is not being phased out. It's being phased down. So it's not like it's going away or anything. And so especially if you're getting in right when the shift is happening. It's one thing if you when 410A first came out, if you was one of the ones that got the first 410A system, or if you wanted to stay with R22, like that was debatable. But if you were one of the people that were buying dry ship R22 systems, you got to be the dummy that years later, when that system had a leak and you had to fix it, and they're having to buy drums of R22 for $1,500 to $2,000, you just got to be the dummy that either has to pay for that or get a retrofit. So we're not in the dummy phase yet. And given how things are being different, we may not have that in the same way of that R22 getting phased out and causing that, extreme price hike.
Okay.
So I say all that to say, I don't know.
Yeah. And don't forget, this new stuff explodes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
As though we don't already have furnaces and ovens in our houses.
The same people that will argue that furnaces are amazing and they heat better and they're safe and blah blah blah, they're terrified of a refrigerant that they already use half of currently. It's like, oh, R32, it's terrible. It's like, well, 410A is 50% R32. Yeah, but it's horrible. Oh God.
It's another one of them
conspiracies.
Yeah.
How'd your day end up? Tanner ended up taking his car to be serviced.
Yes. Took a fun trip to Chattanooga and was welcomed the typical Chattanooga way of hitting a very deep pothole to turn a 2-tire swap out to a full set, which was great. Dear Chattanooga, nobody loves you and you
$500 a
smell like
tire.
shit.
Yeah. Send the bill to the state.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I mean, wasn't too bad. Got the tires done, alignment and whatnot. And while we were there, we test drove. Finally got to test drive a Model S Plaid, and that thing's insane. That thing's stupid.
Moving on up again, Tanner.
Not gonna be getting one, but
were you there with a friend?
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah.
They gonna get one?
No. We was really just test driving the Model S is great. Like, it's fun to drive, but it's hard to get away from the utilitarian aspect of the Model Y.
Yeah.
But that freaking the Plaid version, that 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds, and that hard launch is just it's insane to be able to take a car that other than that one and other than other one. I mean, now there's like the Lucid Sapphire Platinum whatever blah 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 that cost a lot of money, but like before then, to get a car that goes that fast, you trailer it into the track, and you don't get to take it on street roads. And so to be able to take a car that can perform similar to those and then turn around and just like it's like it shifts modes from like race car to now we're just cruising in a luxury sedan is just insane.
Mind-boggling.
Yes.
That it's legal on the roads.
Yes.
Did you get to sit in a Cybertruck?
Did not. They had one there that we looked at, but it was a customer's vehicle, and so we couldn't actually sit in it.
That's too bad.
Yeah, which I've seen several now, but I've not got to actually sit in one and see the inside.
Mm-hmm. It's not it's pretty much what you expect.
Yeah,
from looking at it.
I would imagine so.
I'm not in a big hurry. Are you?
Not really, especially with these used prices coming down pretty quick. I mean, now it's kind of like as long as they keep pumping them out, even if my ticket doesn't get called up, I mean, just buy a used one for probably cheap. I mean, honestly, I would prefer to buy used anyways if I could, just to let somebody else take that initial, depreciation hit
and work the bugs out.
Yeah, and then they can work the bugs out and all that good stuff.
They want to get to 5,000 a week, which means that they must really be confident in demand. And in fact,
darn,
they said the foundation series was going to end this quarter. And now they're saying they don't think they're going to end the foundation series until the end of the year. Which means if they ramp up to 5,000 a week and this whole year is foundation series, there'll probably be almost 100,000 of those.
Is that a good thing?
It's good for Tesla.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's definitely good on that end, but it's also kind of like if you're one of the ones that you bought into the foundation series because you were because what was it? They were initially saying it was going to be just the first 1,000 or 2,000 or something like that.
They sort of implied that it was going to be a limited run.
Yeah. And so if you bought in, especially if you bought in getting full self-driving, you paid all this stuff outright, expecting to be able to have like this limited run, but then you don't have full self-driving for quite a while, and then they just keep bumping the numbers up. I mean, I'd probably be a little upset about that if it were me. I'd be wondering, why did I spend an extra $20K?
You're spending the $20K so you can have it now.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case. You're spending the $20K so you can have it now. Plus, you're going to have all of the things to connect that thing to your house, which you don't get with a non-foundation. You're going to have to call and get Powerwall installed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's exactly what they did with the signature cars. They had signature cars for the Model S, and then they had signature cars for the Model X. And so, and those were limited, and there's not any additional value really in the marketplace to those cars. It's just bragging rights that you got a signature car. And so it's a VIN thing. You get to, you know, it's how low is your VIN?
Yeah. Oh, which another thing, at that same service site that I went to, they had an original Roadster there.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it doing there?
I'm really not sure, but it was in their shop. I think there was just probably, I don't know if it was a basic service or if it had issues or what, but yeah, it was like when they opened up the shop door, I could see it down into the back, and just looking at it, I'm like, why is there? I couldn't see much of it, so I'm like, why is there either a Lotus or a Viper in there? Like, this makes no sense. But then I kind of walked in, and I kind of got a better look at it at a distance, and I'm like, is that an original Roadster? And I asked the dude, and it was. I was like, that's pretty cool. You definitely don't see many of those.
No. How long a drive is it?
It was 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay. And you had some warranty work done too?
Yeah, my carbon fiber spoiler on the back right, the glue had kind of come loose, and so the back right corner was a little wobbly.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, so they replaced that.
Nice.
But yeah, that was pretty much it. Which they should have cleared out my damn strikeouts on my full self-driving, since version 12.4 wants to be retarded. Oh,
I think that's going to be. I think it's a rolling purge now. So if you're good for a week, it clears without waiting to put you in jail.
Yeah, well, it clears one strike for every 7 days you don't get one.
I gotcha. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Which is better than putting you in jail.
Yeah.
After they stack up.
Yeah. It is. It's just right now you pretty much, for me anyways, I don't know, maybe I just change songs on Spotify way too often or something, but for me, I kind of pretty much have to wear sunglasses and still to use it, just because
are you using Spotify on your phone or on the car?
On the car.
Can you do voice commands?
I mean, you can, but it's a little finicky. Like if I'm trying to, if I'm either on a playlist and I'm looking for a particular song, or if I'm picking a new podcast or something like that, or if I'm looking for something, and it's really short drives are fine. It's when you're driving 30 minutes or longer is where it becomes, because then you're getting those alarms or notices, and then they build up, and since you're driving an hour and you've done one in 10 minutes, you've done another at minute 30, but by the time you get to that last one, it's locking you out. And so that's where I'm running into that problem of, it's driving and I'm looking down at the infotainment screen for a second, and I'm trying to
so
find
annoying,
something,
man,
and
it's really bad.
Yeah, and you stay there and you look at it for a little bit too long, and then it's like, don't do that. But then on the third don't do that, it's locking you out. It's super annoying.
Ken, this is like first world problems. We're complaining about the fact that the car won't let us not have to drive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, car goes 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, and we don't want to drive it.
Yes. I'm trying to just pick a song or pick a podcast, and it wants to bark at me. And so, and which one thing I will say, I don't know if they if they like review the footage or whatever. But if they do, they're getting a lot of videos of me flipping them off. Because every time, every single time,
Yeah.
I flip off the camera. And I'm like, I hope you look at this.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
But yeah,
they're awful nice to live with. It's pretty nice waking up every morning to a full tank.
that is true.
Do you notice it on your electric bill?
I do. It's about $100 more a month for me.
Okay.
Yeah, but I also do, like I said, I do quite a bit of driving, and so I was
How many
spending
miles
quite
do
a
you
bit
do a
more.
month?
Well, I will say, May and the 1st of June, I did a lot of driving, so that was kind of abnormal. But
Like 3,000 miles?
well, let's see, what am I at now? I bought the car with 17,000 miles. I've had it since mid-February, and I'm at almost 33,000 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
15,000 miles in
Yeah.
4 months.
Yes.
Have you ever had to charge up out on the road? Have any of your trips been that long?
Yeah. I've took a trip down to Orlando once, and then I've went to Atlanta. Well, I went to Atlanta, and then where else did I go? Oh, I also went to
today.
Memphis. Yeah, and then today to Chattanooga.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
So I've made.
you didn't make that round trip, did you?
No,
Or did you
I
charge
probably
did you charge at the service center?
no. I did have to stop for a 5-minute charge, but when I left my house at 80%.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I
so it could have been a round trip.
Yeah, I probably could have made it a round trip.
So you say your electric bill's gone up $100. What would you have spent in gas during that time?
300
or 400?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a lot of days, especially through May, I was probably driving a minimum hour and a half a day, 2 hours ish of driving. And so then there would be some days where I would drive even more to that, because it's like where I'm at, you pretty much like you're driving a minimum 20 to 30 minutes if you've got to go to somewhere of significance. So, and everything I guess I go to is a decent far a ways away. So like my jiu-jitsu gym is in Decatur, which is about an hour away from me. And so if I'm going to the gym, that's 2 hours that I'm going to be driving just to go to the gym. And so there's several things like that that's it's not great, but additional $100 on the electric bill is quite a bit better than 300-400 in gas and having to stop all the time.
Yep.
But in which also while my car's being worked on, we test drove the Model 3 refresh. I've already drove one before.
Do that. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, so we did another one of those. They had several of those, so they were like, "Yeah, just take it, go to lunch, take your time, whatever." So then we went to lunch, did a little running around, just seeing some stuff, and I mean, I have to say, as far as like, nice. As far as like value, that's a damn good car for the price point.
Which one did you drive?
The long range. They didn't have any performance.
Okay. Yeah, it's amazingly quiet, amazingly comfortable. I love those cooled seats.
Yes.
I've seen a bunch of them, but did you feel like Did you feel like something was missing over the car that you rented?
Did I feel like something was missing from the car that I rented?
Versus the car that you rented?
Oh, versus the car that I
new
rented.
car. The new 3.
As far as you saying, like potentially the new car missing it or the old missing it?
The new car. I think the new car is missing a little bit of personality. It's very much like your daddy's Buick. I mean, it's so smooth on the road, but it kind of gives up handling.
Yeah, it's a hard comparison because the 3 that I rented was I mean, it wasn't in bad shape, but it was it was a 19 model, and it had some quirks to it that were, not the greatest. But I mean, overall, I wouldn't say so. Maybe if I really drove it some more to really, I guess, to tell. The only thing is, I guess, since they're so even more minimalistic than than the old Model 3 and the Model Y, because it does away with the stocks and and everything. So maybe there's something there because there's just such little to it. But
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the car without stocks. But just the way it handles, like you feel so removed from the road. It's almost like you're on a you're on one of those, what are those, cushion air vehicles?
Yeah, air suspension. Well, which I will say, I mean, it is, at least the ones that I've drove have not been the performance model. And so it's not, it's not like it's a race car or anything. Because, like, I mean, I know mine's, since my Y is a performance model, it's definitely a little more stiff, and you definitely feel the road more.
Right.
But, it's kind of like the suspension is meant to be that way because that's what it is. It's a performance model. So I guess there was that, but I was just kind of writing it off as this is a long range model. It's meant to be comfortable. And I mean, it does do that. So
I get in my 3, and I just like the way it drives and the way it handles better than that car. So I guess I'm holding out to test drive the performance car, and I have my fingers crossed.
Yeah. And I would imagine it probably will, because if it's going to be an actual performance model, I mean, that's just a little bit of stiffness and a little bit of feel is required, because that's, that's the whole point of a performance car, is to perform well. And you can't drive well if you can't really feel the road as well.
Yeah.
Well, Ken.
Yes.
You could put us all to shame by getting a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any use for that here.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta drive the trash cans down to the road. Let me put it in the Cybertruck.
All right, guys. This has been a long one. Thank you.
It has. Yeah.
Thank you.
Productive.
Nice to see you both.
It's good to see everybody. Yep.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Thanks for coming, folks.
Yeah.
Yep.